و بار ننشیند از پا نخواهیم نشست و تا رمقی در جان داریم برای تحقق آرمان‌های انسانیمان مبارزه خواهیم کرد. به امید روزی که برادری و برابری آرمان و آرزو نه بلکه شیوه راستین زندگیمان باشد. دوستان عزیز، همونطور که اعلام شد چند دقیقه پیش از طریق همکارم، در طول برنامه 3 شعار داریم. از همه دوستان خواهش میشه که شعارها را با صدای بلند تکرار کنیم و با ما همکاری نمایید. ازتان میخواهیم که وقتی که شعارها را تکرار میکنید میتونید بنرهای خود هم بالا کنید و شعارها را با صدای بلند همگی با هم یک نواخت تکرار کنید. و همچنان دوستایی که دسترسی به توییتر دارن میتونن که هشتگ StopGenocide Hazara StopHazaraGenocide StopHazaraGenocide لطفاً این هشتگ را تا میتوانید در توییتر توییت کنید. تشکر از شما.
تا شيء خیلی خوب میشه. کنسولینگ نمی‌کنه می‌جسته.
خاطر راقی جای سیف نیست.
جای سیف نیست. امروز خود ما کل اینو وقت دلش میاد. امروز میاد گفته دیگه خلاص.
همکارم رحمت رضایی و خودم شبنم we forgot to introduce ourselves. So my colleague Rahima Rezai will be the MC speaking in Dari tonight, and myself, Shabnam Safa, will be your English speaking MC for the night. In the memory of the victims, and to remember the young lives taken away from us brutally, barbarically, cowardly, we'll have a moment of یادبود شهدای مرکز آموزشی حاج برای یک لحظه سکوت اختیار می‌کنیم.
خوب شد؟
زبیخ کم پس بشو
دیگه چی؟
شکر
بال نمی‌کنی؟ Tamam, peşten çıkan. Peş bayrağı verirsin.
Teşekkür dostum. Thank you. I would like to start off today's proceedings and to give a bit of context to why we're here. For that purpose, I would like to invite a very well-respected member of our community, Dr. Ali Razayounspur, who is a teacher in the School of Social and Political Science at Melbourne University. He's a director at the Community Refugee Sponsorship Australia, an organisation I happen to work for. And he is a very, very hard-working advocate for the rights of refugees and asylum seekers in Australia. We'll be sharing with you why we're all gathered here today and what some of the asks of the Australian Kazara community are. Dr. Younspur, thank you.
Thank you, Shabnam. Let me begin with the respect for the traditional owners of the land that we have pledged.
سعی میکنه این سر دیوال ممنوع بسته ایوان شات داون سر دیوال نباشه
Past, present, and emerging. On behalf of our community, I would like to thank members of Australian Parliament, Legislative Council of Victoria,
لا ميلا
and the Dandenong
لا
Council
يقول
to come here tonight
شو بدنا وين درتم
in this very difficult time for our community, for our countrymen and women in Afghanistan and around the world. You are, and we all have come together here for 3 reasons. We have come together to remember as someone who survived the telephone attack in 2016 on the American Tonight, I call on everyone that if you have not done it, please help them. About 18 million survived the hungry in Afghanistan because they are not. They are calling on us to support them, and we need to make sure that we provide this. When I witnessed the attack on the American University in Afghanistan, I remember what it meant to grow up in the middle class, the young people. Why that matter? These girls lost their lives. Remember, the last girls that have gone on the we are in a situation where secondary girls' education has been banned for more than a year. I have been educating girls and boys for 20 years in Afghanistan. Some of the girls who you see there, they have gone to the same school that we provide support for. And it is very difficult for me and for every one of you to know that these people are not Afghans. I call it humanity. I call it families and our homes. And that's why we call on Australian government, on everyone being here tonight, on everyone who will hear us. This is enough. We want Australian government to protect our children, not because and finally we ask the Australian government that these lives we can only stop this once we all stand together. I remember the first attack on our mosques, on our education centers, on our cities. If we stood together at that time, I'm sure that the God girls would have been tonight with us. If we do not stop together tonight, we will lose warriors tomorrow. And finally, we call on the Australian government to make sure that people who are at risk in Afghanistan, that they could be supported. As someone who have advocated for the rights of refugees and asylum seekers for many years, we have got people in Australia on asylum protection that unfortunately have no right to work for the Palestinian industry. And I would like to thank again every one of you who have come together here to share your support. And I would also again to thank all members of the Australian government being here. You give us strength, you give us courage. And to all our countrymen and women who are here tonight, the non-Hazaras, please stand together with us, otherwise you will be tomorrow another victim. And we will stand with you at difficult times like this. That's how we can say no to terrorism. And I hope that that continues from today, and we will see the end of this suffering for everyone in Afghanistan, around the world, and outside Afghanistan. Thank you.
It's probably no news to the mayor of the Greater Dandenong how strong and how powerful and how contributing the Victorian Hazara community are. But probably also not news that other Hazara community members from all parts of Victoria have made quite a trek to get here today. From the west of Victoria, from the north of Victoria, all the way here. That's at least an hour and a half of driving. Add weekend traffic, probably 2 hours, to say loud and clear what it is that we're concerned about and what we want. I'd like to invite Dandenong Mayor, or the City of Greater Dandenong Mayor, Mr. Jim Memeti, to come here and welcome us to his city and say a few words of solidarity.
السلام عليكم. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I would also like to acknowledge the dignitaries who are with us this evening. Mr. Julian Hill, Federal Member for Bruce. Ms. Cassandra Fernando, Federal Member for Holt. Ms. Michelle Anada Raja, Federal Member for Higgins. Ms. Monique Ryan, Federal Member for Kooyong. Ms. Zoe Daniel, Member for Goldstein. Councillors Deputy Mayor Eden Foster and Councillor Rhonda Gerard. Community leaders and members of the Hazara community. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we are gathered in Harmony Square, united for search for peace. We are questioning why such horrific acts of terrorism and violence continue to occur. We have all been left wondering why innocent lives continue to be lost, and we pray for those who sustain injuries and whose lives have been forever affected by this tragedy. The city of Greater Dandenong is Australia's most multicultural municipality. It is among the most vibrant and culturally diverse cities in our country. As Mayor, I am deeply aware of the strength that people of different nations and cultural backgrounds draw from a shared purpose, from common values and from mutual respect. Tonight, we are united in condemning these senseless acts of violence and in sharing a hope for peace, tolerance and acceptance. Thank you for standing together as a community this evening in support of our Hazara brothers and sisters, and to call for Stop Hazara Genocide. I will conclude with a poem by Sadi Shirazi. Human beings are members of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is afflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. Thank you. Stop Hazara Genocide.
Thank you, Mr. Memti, for welcoming us, but also for your such powerful sentiments and words of solidarity, particularly the poem by Sadi Shirazi. It's something that I think every person here who speaks Farsi holds very, very close to their heart, and something that we live by. It's a value in the Hazara community, but also the broader Afghan community. So can I also provide and say my heartfelt thank you and words of gratitude to other members of the community from Afghanistan here, the non-Hazaras who are here to show their solidarity, to call for an end to the senseless genocidal attacks, and to be here with us, to be all the same voice. Thank you for coming here, thank you for standing by us. I'd like to invite Ms. Zara Mohammadi to come up on the stage and give a brief overview of the global movement that has taken the world by storm right now. As we speak, 90 plus cities in nearly 50 countries have taken it to the streets, calling for an end to this genocide and what some of the global asks for protection are. Thank you, Ms. Mohammadi. Thank you. Thank you. Salam. Hello. Good evening, everyone. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of and custodians of the land on which we gather this evening, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and those yet to emerge. I would like to thank them for caring for this land. My name is Satara Mohammadi, and I belong to the Hazara people who are facing continuous genocide for more than 130 years. We all gather tonight for one reason, and one reason only: to call for Stop Hazara Genocide in Afghanistan. Across the world this week, in over 100 cities, across 5 continents, thousands, if not millions of people have come together and are gathering to stand in solidarity with the Hazara people of Afghanistan following the latest targeted suicidal attack on Kaj Educational Center, which resulted in the carnage of 57 young Hazara students and wounded 110 others, mostly young Hazara girls. At the outset, it's important that we acknowledge that all people in Afghanistan are suffering from the widespread violence and human rights atrocities perpetrated by various groups, including the children's rights are severely restricted. We condemn this. However, it's important that we acknowledge, we raise awareness, and we talk about the systematically targeted attacks and enduring genocide the Hazaras are facing. So why are we calling this a genocide? Let me refer you to Article 2 of the 1948 Genocide Convention, which defines the term as the intention to destroy in whole or in part national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. That's what the Hazaras have been facing and enduring since the late 19th century, when it formally commenced under the rule of Abdul Rahman. The Hazaras have been facing genocide for the last 130 years.
Okay, thank you.
During the 20th century, it did not stop. The genocidal policies continued, both through physical attacks as well as non-physical violence, including the systematic exclusionary policies, the institutionalization
of marginalization of the Hazaras. Until the 1970s, Hazaras were barred from attending universities and joining the government. During the regime of the Taliban during the late 1990s, it is one of the darkest parts of the Hazara history. Hazaras were massacred in large numbers, including the infamous massacre of Mazar-e Sharif in 1998, when in a matter of few days, thousands of Hazaras were massacred based on their ethnic identity, their religious affiliation. That's what the Hazaras have been enduring over the last 130 years. Since 2001, Hazaras have also suffered an extra layer on top of that ethnic and religious elements of genocide. Since 2001, the Hazaras have been targeted because of their educational values, their human rights, their subscription to freedom and to democratic values. So why the hashtag StopHazaraGenocide? I think you can draw the answer from what I've said before, that the Hazaras have been facing an ongoing genocide. And it's time that we stand up, that we raise awareness, and we have the genocide of the Hazaras formally recognized by the international community. The hashtag StopHazaraGenocide was formally launched last year in June after yet another attack in May 2021 on the girls' high school, Sayyid al-Shahada, which took hundreds of lives and wounded many others. I mentioned that the root of the genocide of the Hazaras is deep and entrenched in the history of Afghanistan. In the late 1990s, 62% of the Hazara population was eliminated. And it has been enduring ever since, either through physical violence or through genocidal policies through the government and through the institutions in Afghanistan. So what are our global calls to action? We call on the United Nations and other broader international community to formally recognize the systematic attacks against the Hazara people in Afghanistan as a genocide. We know what the definition of genocide is, and it is about time that we recognize the endless sufferings and the enduring atrocities that our people have suffered as a genocide. 2, we call on the United Nations to urgently form a commission of inquiry into the ongoing genocide of the Hazara people in Afghanistan. The commission should have the full mandate to investigate, gather information, and report to the United Nations on their findings and recommend specific measures to prevent further atrocities against our people. 3rd, we call on all countries in the international community, including Australia, to take urgent measures to provide protection for the Hazara people in Afghanistan, including by creating an internationally assisted and monitored self-defense mechanism. 4th, we call on the International Criminal Court to open a case on the atrocities and the enduring genocide that the Hazaras have suffered. and to investigate these genocides. Fifth, we call on all UN refugee resettling states, including Australia, to prioritize the resettlement of Hazara refugees as a special group of highly vulnerable people under the serious threat of genocide in Afghanistan. Lastly, to all individuals, organizations, media, members of parliament, I urge you, please understand and recognize systematic attacks and the atrocities that the Hazaras are facing is not just part of the general violence in Afghanistan. There are extra layers: ethnic identity, religious affiliation, subscription to human rights, liberal values, education, that the Hazaras are suffering. To recognize the genocide of the Hazaras and to not censor their identity when they release statements, reports. We must do justice to the victims. Censoring or filtering their identity, not mentioning their ethnic and religious identity, is an injustice. I urge you all to get on Twitter, use the hashtag StopHazaraGenocide, and make your voice heard to the world. Stop Hazara Genocide. Thank you.
Recognize. Hazara Budan. Thank you, Satara. And obviously in the motions of tonight I keep forgetting to introduce people properly. Satara Mohammadi is a researcher and writer on Hazara and Afghanistan and a current Juris Doctor candidate at Monash University. We've got many members of the Parliament here with us tonight. The members of Federal Parliament, members of State Parliament, local council, local councillors and candidates. They've taken time out of their busy schedules to be with us and stand with us in solidarity with the Australian Hazara community, with the Victorian Hazara community, with the Dandenong Hazara communities. And I do apologise, we're running a little behind the net, probably given you the agenda for us. I really hope you can stay back, those of you who do need to leave early. Hazara people of Afghanistan are under sustained violent assault because of their ethnic identity, as you've heard from our two speakers, giving context to this. These attacks, these series of attacks that date back all the way to 1890s, but escalated in the last year particularly. Hazara people of Afghanistan share close ties with Australians, including family ties and common values like love for education, women's public participation, fairness, justice, and human rights. Australia spent 2 decades in Afghanistan helping the people of Afghanistan strengthen these values and found eager partners among the Hazaras in Afghanistan. The ties of kinship, shared values, the special 20-year relationship with Afghanistan and membership of the Genocide Convention give rise to moral and legal obligations for Australia. So we hope, really do hope that this solidarity goes beyond tonight's event into the chambers of decision making and policy making. I hope that you stand with us and behind us well beyond tonight, and we hope we continue this conversation. I won't name everyone, but we'll start. We'll have Julian Hill MP, who's been a supporter and advocate for the community here in Dandenong in the southeast of Australia. As Julian is the federal member for Bruce, probably doesn't need a lot of introduction to the community gathered here today. Thank you, Julian. And as Julian's putting the flower down, I will maybe give you a bit of a heads up on who is next, as that process is taking a little bit of time. We will then hear from Monique, Ryan, Zoe, Daniel. You'll be up next. Stop Hazara Genocide! Stop Hazara Genocide!
Thank you to the organisers, to you, Shannon, and everyone who's organised this evening's gathering. There are no words adequate to describe the sadness and the anger that yet again we gather here in central Dandenong, in the most multicultural part of Australia, with the Australian Hazara community tonight, with more members of Parliament, with the Mayor, councillors and so many community leaders, to call out this latest atrocity, this direct attack on Hazara people in Afghanistan, who were targeted because of their ethnicity and Shia religion in Kabul, directly targeting young Hazara women this time at an educational centre. A truly inhumane and barbaric attack. Monsters targeting school children. A total perversion of religion. I want to make a few acknowledgements. Firstly, to the people here who are with us tonight, who've lost loved ones, family and friends in the 56 people killed in this shocking attack, including a niece of an Australian and family and friends of Australians, and others who were seriously injured. We are so deeply sorry for your loss, and we stand with you in your grief and share your outrage at this attack. I'll also echo, I think on behalf of, perhaps we can say, all the other speakers, I'll do one set of acknowledgements so those other speakers from Parliament don't have to do them again. But to the Mayor, Councillor Jim Mamedi, the Deputy Mayor, Eden Foster, to Councillor Garrard, to my federal parliamentary colleagues, thank you for being here with the Hazara community tonight. To Dr. Michelle Ananda Raja, to Cassandra Fernando, the member for Holt, to the independent members, Zoe Daniel and Dr. Monique Ryan, thank you for travelling across Melbourne to be here with us tonight. To Lee Talamas, to other Labor candidates who I can see there, I'll also acknowledge you, General Morad, I think the first Hazara General in the Afghan Army, to Jaswinder Singh from Sikh Volunteers, and also, as was said, to other members, non-Hazara members of the Afghan community in Australia, thank you for being here and showing solidarity and calling out what's happening to the Hazara people. Now, last time I stood here and spoke to you at a vigil, sadly just like this some months ago, I was a member of the opposition. And I'm pleased and relieved that I now talk to you as a member of the Australian government, of the Labor government, here tonight on behalf of Minister Andrew Giles as well. He sends his apologies. I saw him today, I spoke to him this afternoon, and he's asked me to convey his message in a moment. But firstly, just a few words as your Member of Parliament. I'm so proud to represent your community. The seat of Bruce, Senate here on Dandenong, has more people born in Afghanistan than any other electorate in Australia, and I think the largest Hazara community. A large share of the 71,000 Hazara people or thereabouts who now call Australia home. Thank you for your contribution to our community, for your support for democracy, for your love of education, and for your contribution that your children make to our primary schools and schools. I meet so many school captains from the Afghan and the Hazara communities. I'm so sad and angry again at this senseless violence, and we gather tonight here in southeast Melbourne as part of a national vigil held right across Australia. But of course, while making your contribution, building your lives here in Australia, Hazara people remain connected with the plight of other Hazara people in Afghanistan through family and friends and community links. And an atrocity like this reverberates across the world and affects us all. Now, as a member of the government, I stand with you, as I always have and will continue to speak up against this violence in support of compassion and generosity in Australia's migration program. I've been asked by the organisers to say a few words about migration issues, which I'll do in a moment, but firstly, the Minister has asked me to read you his message formally on behalf of the Australian Government, and I'll read that now. The recent senseless attacks at the Kash Education Centre in Kabul saw dozens of innocent school children lose their lives. Everyone, regardless of race, gender or belief, deserves the right to education and to live in peace. My deepest condolences to the victims' loved ones, and I recognise that this is an especially painful time for the Hazara community and the broader Afghan diaspora. The Albanese government stands in solidarity today with those attending vigils right